Sometimes you come across a video that's so weird, so inexplicable, so utterly without reason that it makes you wonder, can you really believe your eyes? Back in 2004, U.S. Navy pilots stationed on the Pacific coast saw something pretty weird. Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich were stationed on the USS Nimitz along the coast of Southern California when radar spotted some odd airborne anomalies, so the two airmen peeled off from their squadron to take a look. Before long, they found what Fravor later described as a large white Tic Tac hovering above the waves. It appeared to be mimicking their movements and had no visible exhaust, propulsion systems, or identifying markings. Fravor later testified that this object also appeared to accelerate at shocking speeds.
You're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave.
More fighters were sent from the Nimitz, including Lieutenant Commander Chad Underwood, who captured footage of the object on his jet's forward-looking infrared camera. Additional footage of unidentified aerial phenomena was captured by Navy jets in 2014, 2015, and 2019. In 2023, the Pentagon released more footage, this time captured by military drones. Many of the experienced Navy pilots from these encounters claim that they still don't understand what they saw, and the objects seen in the U.S. Navy footage remain officially unidentified. The Paris Catacombs were founded in the late 18th century when it became all too clear that the city's cemeteries were full to bursting. Officials quickly ordered a series of exhumations, depositing the bones in subterranean caverns that had been created by old mining operations. Today, one part of the catacombs is a major tourist attraction, but urban explorers known as cataphiles often venture far deeper into the tunnels. People have gotten lost for days in the catacombs, and one death has been confirmed, that of Philibert Aspère in 1793, but you could add at least one more name to that tally. Back in 2000, filmmaker Francis Friedland claimed to have recovered a tape found in the catacombs. It showed a point-of-view shot of a person moving through a deeper area of the tunnels. The unseen videographer grows increasingly frantic, finally running through the catacombs before dropping the camera as they flee. Of course, this film is conveniently lacking in faces, and it was never released unedited, so it could well have been faked. It's also odd that police never got involved, despite the fact that the tape apparently suggests some kind of criminal activity is taking place. Still, Friedland himself has always insisted the tape is real, and Aspère's tragic story proves that bad things really can happen down there in the dark. Folie, deux, or Double Madness, isn't just the name of a Joker movie.
You're right. Let's give the people what they want.
It's also a very real phenomenon, one in which two or more people share paranoid delusions, and it was once demonstrated in full effect on the BBC, originally on the reality show Traffic Cops, and then in Madness in the Fast Lane. In mid-May 2008, Swedish twins Sabina and Ursula Eriksson traveled from Sabina's residence in Ireland to Liverpool. Sabina made a police report concerning her children's safety, then boarded a bus with Ursula to London. At some point, they left the bus and found themselves alongside the M6 highway, where they briefly spoke to police. They got onto the median, at which point the police were called again. Ursula abruptly attempted to flee into the highway, but struck the side of a large truck and suffered major leg fractures. Sabina attempted the same, rolled over a car's hood, and was knocked unconscious. When she awoke, Sabina attacked officers and was handcuffed as a result. The injured Ursula was hospitalized, while Sabina, somehow escaping major injury, went to the police station. She was released after just one day, with no psychiatric checkup. Left to wander the nearby city of Stoke-on-Trent, Sabina ended up fatally stabbing Glenn Hollinshead, a local who had attempted to help her. She was placed on trial, convicted, and served her sentence, but the twins never explained the reason for their hysteria. Max Headroom was a supposedly computer-generated TV host who was actually played by a heavily made-up human actor called Matt Frewer. He made his debut in the 1985 TV film Max Headroom 20 Minutes into the Future, but two surprise appearances later became one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the 1980s. It all happened on November 22, 1987, during an average Sunday evening of broadcast TV in Chicago. After a sports segment on WGN-TV cut to black, Max Headroom showed up, or at least someone in a Max Headroom mask, who loomed in front of a rotating background while static blasted on the audio. Engineers switched the broadcast feed after 30 seconds or so, cutting to a pretty confused newscaster.
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I.
About 2 hours later, another channel was hit with the same signal, this time showing Max Headroom garbling nonsense and mocking WGN-TV's sports director. Despite investigations by both the FCC and the FBI, no perpetrator or motivation for these attacks was ever identified. At first, Elisa Lam must have seemed like just about any other tourist in LA. She decided to stay at the Cecil Hotel, which is admittedly a pretty shady place. While the previously unhoused people who lived there weren't inherent threats to Lam, something clearly went wrong during her stay. She was recorded on security cameras in a hotel elevator, moving in and out of the car while it was stopped at a floor. She occasionally appeared to hide or exit to speak and gesture at an unseen person. After that, Lam disappeared. Her body was discovered 19 days later inside a rooftop water tank. Lam's tragic death was ruled accidental, with her bipolar disorder considered a contributing factor, but it's unclear how she could have accessed the roof. Given reports by eyewitnesses, Lam exhibited paranoid and potentially threatening behavior toward other guests, lending credence to the theory that she was experiencing a mental health crisis. Still, when the police released that elevator security footage, other theories gained traction, ranging from the supernatural to the more ordinary. But with only that footage and very little physical evidence to go off, Lam's bizarre death has never been explained. There's something odd going on in the skies above Norway. Specifically, the skies above the Hessdalen Valley and the village of the same name, which have been intermittently graced by odd, pulsating lights since at least the early 20th century. The Hessdalen lights are of such interest that in 1998, researchers installed the Hessdalen Automatic Measurement System to keep tabs on the valley. Also known as the Blue Box, the system was revamped in 2024 and currently operates 2 cameras and other instruments to gain more insight into the lights. Individuals have also captured the occasional footage of the orbs. One particular set of videos was recorded by Erling Strand, a now retired computer science professor who has studied the light since 1984. They appear to show an amorphous light cruising above the valley, occasionally changing shape and flickering in and out of view.
It's very easy to think that it must be one thing which do all this because it happened in one place.
Analysts speaking with the show noted that common explanations like reflected car headlights or misidentified airplanes don't line up with the light's behavior. Perhaps the geology of the area has created an electrical field that generates the lights, but the river running through the valley would likely interrupt the sort of electric circuit or magnetic field necessary to make that happen. Generally speaking, scientists agree that more data is needed before making a definitive identification. No supposed Bigfoot footage is quite so iconic as the so-called Patterson-Gimlin film. Shot in 1967, it allegedly shows a female Bigfoot walking into the woods near Bluff Creek in Northern California. Though it's not without controversy, the footage is widely regarded as something of a gold standard for Bigfoot evidence. On an episode of the History Channel's Monster Quest, researchers attempted to recreate the stance and stride of Patty and claimed that it was difficult, if not impossible, for a human to mimic.
There may not be a human on the face of the earth who has the proportions and height necessary to be this creature.
That's not to say the footage is without its skeptics. There are, of course, allegations that the Bigfoot known to many as Patty is really a guy in a modified gorilla suit. Costume maker Philip Morris once said that he provided just such a getup to Roger Patterson, who asked for tips on how to hide the zipper and make the wearer appear larger than life. Meanwhile, a man named Bob Hieronymus has claimed that he was the man in the suit. Yet neither of these people have produced definitive evidence of their involvement with the film, and advocates like Meldrum continue to claim that the Bigfoot seen in the footage has a distinctly non-human walk. With so much hearsay and little concrete evidence either way, the film continues to stand on its own. Is there an Alaskan cryptid out there? Some believe that footage filmed at Nushagak Bay in 2009 might just show one. Kelly Nash, a salmon fisherman, was out in the estuary with his 2 sons when they saw something strange in the water. They whipped out a camera and began filming. What they recorded appears to show a creature moving through the water, leading some to believe it's an example of the mysterious Cadborosaurus that can supposedly be seen along the Alaskan and British Columbian coast. But is it really a massive snake-like sea monster? Well, the footage is grainy and black and white, making it conveniently difficult to identify just what was wiggling around in the waters of Nushagak Bay. Michael Primo, a forensic video analyst, told The Proof is Out There that the video appears to have been enlarged and stabilized, which made it difficult for him to judge its authenticity. Marine biologist Dr. Shay Steingass nixed the idea of a reptile, which would have a difficult time surviving in the cold waters, while other candidates such as an oarfish or eel don't quite match up with known species in the area. Another popular explanation is that Nass and his son saw a group of seals, but that doesn't make sense either, as they aren't known to swim in a neat line. Steingass admitted she wasn't sure what it was, leaving this video in limbo. Beginning in November 2024, New Jersey residents reported seeing what they believed to be drones flying around at night. The police had a difficult time tracking them, so the FBI got involved. But few answers were relayed to the public, leaving many to spin their own stories of foreign surveillance, extraterrestrial visitors, radioactive material detection efforts, or other ominous explanations. Ultimately, a spokesperson for Joe Biden's White House insisted that these were legal aircraft, but left it at that. The next January, the newly installed Trump administration offered a little more info.
The drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons.
Yet they offered no further explanation about the nature of this research, much less what she meant by the phrase various other reasons. Those not in the know still have many questions about the footage. Just what research was being done? By whom? Why were drones involved? And why didn't the FAA bother to give federal or local law enforcement agencies a heads up? In the age of the internet, it may seem like UFO videos are a dime a dozen, and many of them have clearly been doctored, but one video from the early 2000s is unusually intriguing. Filmed by Yalcin Yalman just outside Istanbul, the footage allegedly shows an early morning UFO floating above the Sea of Marmara. Yalman even claims he recorded the shapes of two extraterrestrial pilots via a large window in the craft. Is that what we're really seeing though? Michael Primo told The Proof Is Out There that, while the blurry footage was compressed, there isn't any evidence showing further manipulation. Likewise, the Turkish government believes this footage to be authentic, and they haven't suggested that it could have been a military vehicle. Others have expressed skepticism that you would be able to see anyone in a faraway craft, while the low-res footage makes definitive identification difficult. Aviation expert Lieutenant Tim McMillan told The Proof Is Out There that this region sees numerous military training exercises, but the silent, lens-shaped object in the footage doesn't match up with known human craft. He wondered if it might be a visual phenomenon called Fata Morgana, which can make it look like watercraft are floating above the horizon. It's worth noting that the Sea of Marmara is a very busy shipping corridor, but was this UFO too far above the horizon to be explained away by Fata Morgana? That's possible too. For now, it seems likely that the truth behind Yalman's footage will never be explained. John Jack Wheeler graduated not just from Yale, but also Harvard University and West Point before becoming special assistant to the Secretary of the Air Force and a military consultant. On December 28, 2010, Wheeler traveled alone from New York City to his family's second home in Delaware. While he was there, a house under construction across the street, which Wheeler was passionately opposed to, became the target of a mysterious arson attack. Wheeler's cell phone was found on the scene. The next day, Wheeler called off work, claiming a robber had taken his cell phone and other work materials. At a local pharmacy, CCTV footage captured him asking patrons for a ride to nearby Wilmington. A parking garage in that city spotted him less than an hour later, wandering around in a state of distress with one of his own shoes in his hand. The next day, another security camera caught him in the Nemours building in Wilmington. On December 31st, one of Wheeler's neighbors noticed an open window, and upon checking on the home, found it in a state of disarray. That same day, Wheeler's remains were found in the Cherry Island landfill, having apparently been placed in a dumpster in Newark, Delaware. Though his death was ruled homicide by assault, a number of valuables were found on his body. His wife Kathy has offered two potential explanations. She told the Washington Post that he was likely experiencing some sort of dissociative or paranoid episode, but also noted that Wheeler may also have run afoul of some mysterious enemy.
No one came forward with any tips or leads. As my mom said, perhaps because they'd already been paid.
Sometimes you see footage that immediately strikes you as fake, but is so intriguing that you can't help but dig deeper. First shown to the public in 2007, the Fresno nightcrawlers were supposedly captured on a security camera installed by a city resident named Jose. The footage shows what looks like a billowy pair of white pants strolling across the screen. Yes, just the pants. Beyond a connecting segment, the Fresno nightcrawler appeared to be all legs. Soon enough, more videos began to pop up, showing the nightcrawlers going on their weird little walks in all sorts of places. Older cryptids tend to benefit from the tradition they build around themselves, helping them feel more real for new viewers. But the Fresno nightcrawlers had no such advantage. They are a thoroughly modern phenomenon, and while no one's found a Fresno nightcrawler costume hanging around in someone's garage or extracted a confession from this mysterious Jose, we can still probably assume that this footage is a hoax. But how was it faked? That's the real mystery. It doesn't look like a costume. Puppets? Animation? YouTuber Captain Disillusion filmed himself walking about with a watermelon, then used a bit of computer trickery to mimic the cryptid. Something like this, with a bit of low-res messiness thrown in for obfuscation, could easily have helped produce these videos. In 1997, an event occurred that wasn't just witnessed by a whole metropolitan area full of people, but also caught on tape by a significant number of those onlookers. This was the Phoenix Lights, a seemingly massive array of lights that were spotted above Phoenix, Arizona on the evening of March 13. Technically, it began with sightings of lights that began to the north above Henderson, Nevada. The lights appeared to drift south and eventually crossed over Phoenix, where thousands of people saw them. Some reported not just the V-shaped group, but also some strange glowing lights that drifted about over the nearby Sierra Estrella Mountains that same night. Multiple witnesses have come forward with footage and eyewitness testimonies. This includes then-Governor Fife Symington, who had first treated the lights as a joke. Another famous witness, Kurt Russell, who spotted the lights when piloting a small aircraft that night. He told the BBC that he'd initially dismissed the strange lights he saw while landing, but still notified air traffic control. Russell later realized that he may have been one of the very first to report seeing them.
I called up the tower and I said, "What are you guys painting tonight over the airport?" And they said, "We're not showing anything. What are you seeing?"
Theories later suggested that the lights had been part of an unannounced military training exercise, skydivers outfitted with flares, or misidentified but otherwise very normal astronomical features such as the planet Venus. For many, however, those explanations still fall flat. Could something truly strange be living in the lesser explored corners of Australia? That's what some people claim, based on footage recorded in August 2017 in North Queensland. David White, a cruise operator in the Daintree River Wildlife Reserve, was scouting a crocodile in the hopes of scoring some decent wildlife footage. Instead, he found something strange in a tide pool. In White's video, an odd organic shape briefly sticks out of the muddy water, then slowly sinks down again, leaving just a brief bubble to tell of its presence. After seeing the video, some people wondered if it could be proof of the existence of a bunyip. This folklore monster and possible cryptid has long been part of indigenous Australian legend, which maintains that a large, hairy creature would occasionally emerge from waterways to eat people. Over time, the image of the bunyip morphed into a more docile herbivore that still features in the region's culture. Dr. Shay Steinglass told The Proof Is Out There that she thinks the animal appears too small and smooth to be a crocodile, much less a hairy, hulking bunyip. Her best guess? A small fish known as a mud skipper. But geologist Dr. Bob Anderson noted that the mud pool is almost certainly nutrient poor, making it hardly the ideal place for a mud skipper or similar creature to live in. He suggested that it could be an algal mat that was pushed up by gases and then mistaken for a slow-moving creature. Still, considering its unusual shape, it may be hard for some to believe that all we're seeing is slowly sinking algae. Whether you believe tales of supernatural experiences often comes down to your own sensibilities, but some people claim that a videotape made in Britain in 1991 might provide more concrete evidence of ghosts. As he tells it, a then-teenaged Adam Mawson allowed a video camera to run in his unoccupied home, hoping to uncover the cause of the eerie events that had been plaguing his family. As the camera focuses on a wicker chair, it records what seems to be a human-shaped shadow moving up and away from the furniture. A moment later, another shadow moves across the frame. Mawson told The Proof Is Out There that his parents later confirmed that they had seen these shadows. Are these figures ghosts or evil spirits? Or are they just, shadows? Forensic video analyst Michael Promote told The Proof Is Out There he wasn't sure about the video's authenticity, though he wondered if it was possible that some sort of post-production trickery was at play. Still, he concluded that the most likely explanation was that something was happening as the camera rolled. Physicist Dr. Matthew Shadagas agreed, then pointed out that a shadow appeared to move out of the room and across a wall, much like a shadow cast by someone off camera. But it didn't quite line up with other shadow movements, and Primo wasn't convinced. In March 2017, Erica Garner was filling her dog's water dishes when she saw a bright flash of blue light.
Oh! What was that?
Garner later told The Proof Is Out There that her eyes began to burn shortly thereafter and that her sleep became disturbed by odd dreams of interstellar images. A photography expert told The Proof Is Out There that there were no shadows cast in the flash and that the footage appeared to indicate a jump of approximately 7 seconds. Another investigator wondered if a dying light bulb might have been to blame, but an at-home test by the Garners failed to replicate the effect. Another scientist confirmed that lightning couldn't have been the cause either. With those explanations more or less eliminated, Erica Garner's strange blue flash remains unsolved. For many, 2016 was already a tough year, even before all those clowns turned up. Starting sometime around August 2016 in the United States, unidentified people dressed as creepy clowns began popping up seemingly everywhere. They were spotted doing everything from standing on street corners to lurking outside homes and even chasing passersby down the street. And since so many of these clowns were captured on Ring cameras, we must know who they were, right? Well, not exactly. In a few cases, these clowns committed actual crimes and were subsequently apprehended. landed. Other than that, though, very few of them were actually identified. Some suggested that the spate of sightings had something to do with the pending 2017 premiere of It, a movie adaptation of Stephen King's 1986 horror novel.
Time to float.
Perhaps people just latched onto it as a trend, either for fun or to blow off steam in a stressful year. Still, we've never quite figured out the cause of this brief but deeply unsettling mass event. On the evening of September 12, 1987, Dale Kerstetter began his shift as a security guard at the Corning Glass Works in Bradford, Pennsylvania. The next morning, a fellow guard came in to find no one at all. Kerstetter's personal effects had been abandoned inside, including his still full lunchbox and keys, while more personal items were found in his truck. Kerstetter himself was nowhere to be seen, and he's never been found since. No sign of Kerstetter came up until 4 days later, when someone finally decided to check the site's security cameras. There he was, as expected, along with a mysterious masked man. A Season 2 episode of Unsolved Mysteries had to recreate the tapes themselves, as copies released by the Bradford Township Police Department were so low resolution as to be almost useless. Kerstetter was seen walking with the unidentified person, who was also seen approaching a platinum tank. Notably, $250,000 worth of platinum had gone missing from the plant at the time Kerstetter disappeared. Was Kerstetter in on some sort of heist? His mother, Evelyn Hansen, certainly didn't think so.
He hated a lie. He never believed in lying.
Two of his children also spoke glowingly of their father, although his supervisor noted that Kerstetter was, in his words, a marginal employee. But Kerstetter had also just received a major pay cut and was in significant debt. Clearly, some kind of theft took place that night. Going by the footage alone, though, it's unclear if Kerstetter was a helpless hostage or a co-conspirator. Located around 20 miles south of Los Angeles, Catalina Island is part of the region's Channel Islands. Depending on who you ask, this popular tourist destination may also be a UFO hotspot, with many strange shapes and lights spotted not just in the skies above Catalina, but also submerged in the ocean nearby. Take one anomaly, for example, which was recorded by the UAPX research group in July 2021. At nearly 4 a.m., one of their motion detector cameras captured what appears to be a dark blob with points of light inside it. It's perhaps worth noting that Catalina Island isn't far from where those U.S. Navy aircraft carriers encountered the infamous Tic Tac object. Analysts working with the Proof Is Out There weren't so sure though, as this could just be the result of a misidentified camera glitch. Physicist Michio Kaku downplayed theories that this may have had something to do with a wormhole. If that had been the case, there would have been some kind of visible gravitational effect around the anomaly. He also noted that airplane exhaust could create temperature differences known as fall streak holes that might explain this visual weirdness. UAPX scientists say they checked FAA records and couldn't find aircraft flights planned for that time and place, however, while also noting that no other camera glitches were recorded on their research expedition.